Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. This is Dan Hawkins. Today, we're tackling a situation that honestly, almost every single IT professional is going to face at some point in their career. It's that uncomfortable pit in your stomach moment when you're handed a directive that just doesn't quite sit right. You know the one. It's like being asked to quietly bypass a security protocol on a Friday afternoon just to rush a deployment. So today, we're exploring the core tension of IT ethics, that incredibly delicate negotiation between maintaining your professional integrity and well during your own workplace survival. It's a massive high-stakes balancing act, and we're going to give you the tools to actually walk that tightrope. Okay, let's dive into this. If you've ever felt like the neat, tidy ethics taught in a university classroom don't quite match the messy reality of your cubicle, you are absolutely right. Textbooks love to present these dilemmas as simple logic puzzles, but your lived experience knows way better. I mean, the famous trolley problem doesn't really help you much when you're just trying to keep the servers online and keep your job, right? You're operating in a real organization with very real pressures, not some theoretical vacuum. So here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We're going to cover 1, why ethics are messy, 2, the 3 ethical duties, 3, hierarchy and power asymmetry, 4, the case for career safety, and finally, number 5, the ethical decision framework. Let's get right into it. Section 1, why IT ethics are messy. At the absolute root of this messiness is this massive disconnect between our expectations and the on-the-ground reality of actual tech work. Looking at idealized ethics, the theory basically says you just identify the right action, you take it, and you trust that your integrity is going to be rewarded. Simple, right? But looking at real-world ethics, that's what you actually face. IT roles exist inside really complex hierarchies. You've got to navigate organizational politics, shifting power dynamics, and some very real job security constraints. Your choices are fundamentally shaped by what is realistically possible in your specific environment. Moving on to section 2, the 3 ethical duties. To truly understand this messiness, we have to recognize that you aren't just balancing one moral obligation. You're actually juggling 3 competing ones all at the same time. The first is your duty to the organization. And this one is inescapable. It's baked into every single job description, every performance evaluation you'll ever get, and the basic expectations of your employment. You are hired to support business goals, follow directives, maintain systems, and just contribute to the success of the company as an employee. So when a manager asks you to do something, this duty is ringing loud and clear. But right alongside that is your second obligation, and that's the duty to data subjects. Whether you're dealing with retail customers, university students, or hospital patients, you have a strict obligation to protect privacy, prevent harm, and uphold professional standards. And this isn't just some nice idea. It is explicitly outlined in industry standards. The ACM Code of Ethics, for example, has this foundational principle that simply states, avoid harm. So your technical capabilities literally never override your obligation to safeguard the people whose data you handle. And then we have the third duty. And honestly, this is the one that most traditional ethical frameworks completely ignore. It's the duty to oneself. You have a total necessity to protect your own livelihood, your financial stability, your career trajectory, and your personal safety. I really want to emphasize this. This is not selfish. It's a practical, undeniable reality. Ethical decisions do not happen in a vacuum. They happen in the context of paying your rent, your mortgage, and providing for your family. Understanding how these three duties interact and how they often pull you in completely different directions is the absolute core of ethical balance in it. All right, section 3, hierarchy and power asymmetry. Let's see how this builds, because you're trying to balance those three duties from a structurally vulnerable position. A request from a supervisor isn't just a friendly suggestion. Systems analysts often hold immense responsibility, but actually have very little true authority. Saying no to a questionable directive doesn't just mean taking a moral stand. You are potentially jeopardizing your employment. You're missing out on promotion opportunities, maybe tanking your performance evaluations, and damaging critical relationships with leadership. And complicating this power asymmetry is what we call the information gap. As an analyst, you're on the front lines. You clearly see the immediate effect of technical decisions, like how a system could fail or how data might be misused. But what you rarely see is the strategic information that leadership is acting on. There is almost always a broader organizational direction, some pressure from above, or maybe a financial constraint that you just can't see. And this gap forces you to evaluate potentially unethical requests without having the full context, which makes your choices incredibly complex. Section 4, the case for career safety. This brings us to a major paradigm shift. We need to start treating your well-being as a recognized practical necessity rather than framing it as some kind of personal failure of courage. So the crucial point here is this concept of ethical self-preservation. It completely reframes decision-making as a negotiation between your professional integrity and your survival. You cannot be expected to become a martyr for ethics and just needlessly sacrifice your livelihood. True ethical action actually has to account for the emotional and financial realities of the person making the decision, and that's you. And hey, if you think this sounds like a bit of a cop-out, it's really not. Major industry codes actually quietly affirm this need for self-preservation. Look at the Association for Computing Machinery, the ACM. Their code says avoid harm, and that implicitly includes avoiding harm to oneself. We see the exact same authoritative backing from the IEEE Code of Ethics too. They instruct professionals to respect the needs of all stakeholders. Well, as the analyst executing the work, you are a vital stakeholder. Your needs and your safety absolutely matter in this equation. And finally, the ISACA Code of Professional Ethics dictates that you must act in accordance with your responsibilities. And those responsibilities explicitly include your employment obligations. All these major bodies recognize that ethical action has to be realistic for the people actually carrying it out on the ground. Moving on to section 5, the ethical decision framework. Now that we've established the messy reality, those competing duties, and your absolute right to career safety, let's look at the solution. Here is a structured, realistic conflict strategy for evaluating these messy requests. This 4-step framework is designed specifically to align your ethical duties with the actual realities of your organization, taking you from assessment to upward communication to choosing a strategy, and finally to protecting yourself and improving the process. So step 1 is to assess the situation. Before taking any action at all, you need a complete picture. First, identify the harm. Ask yourself who is hurt if you comply with the request versus who is hurt if you refuse. Next, check company policy and written standards. Things like governance frameworks or software development lifecycle requirements often give you a really neutral ground for pushing back. And finally, honestly assess your personal risk. Is retaliation likely? Could this jeopardize your job? Self-preservation is baked right into the reasoning here. It's not separate from it. Step 2 is to communicate upward. Modern workplaces generally value transparency and psychological safety. So sit down with your supervisor and know, shooting off a passive-aggressive Slack message doesn't count here. Have a constructive conversation. Share your concerns. Ask questions to gather that missing strategic context we talked about earlier. And most importantly, provide alternative solutions. So many of these ethical dilemmas can be resolved simply by not being a surprise and by actually bringing a better option to the table. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the middle ground in this matrix for step 3. This really proves that doing the right thing requires a conflict strategy, not just blind conviction. You've got options here. If the harm is ambiguous, you might choose to just comply, which is low risk. If harm is totally clear and severe, you might have to take the high risk path and refuse. But look at all those alternatives in between. You can delay by asking for clarification. You can escalate the issue to HR, legal, or your manager. You can document things to create a paper trail. Or you can seek policy by citing existing privacy standards. Ethical action is highly contextual, and you get to choose. The Matrix program is the exact tool that best fits the risk. Finally, step 4, protect yourself and improve the process. Always maintain records, communicate in writing, and try to avoid making unilateral decisions in a vacuum. But make sure you frame this documentation properly. It's not just a defensive act to cover your own back. Well-kept records actually highlight recurring issues and help mature the organization. You're basically turning your paper trail into a growth-oriented contribution that prevents future employees from facing the exact same dilemma you did. We've covered a ton of ground today, from the messy realities of power hierarchies all the way to the very practical steps you can take to protect both your data subjects and your own career. So I'll leave you with some things to ponder and think about. Armed with this framework, how will you balance your integrity with your survival the next time you face a dilemma at work? How can what we covered here maybe apply to our discussion question this week? Think about the strategies we discussed today and prepare yourself to navigate that complexity with professionalism, awareness, and most importantly, self-respect. Thanks so much for exploring this topic with me. And remember that if you have any questions, please reach out to me at any time.